Welcome, everybody. We are working on Unit 12 tonight, and this is not a lecture video, by the way, but this is a building a chatbot video where we're going to focus on one of the three approaches that they have available for us um, for the chatbot builds. So there's three different approaches. So I'll point those out first. And then we'll dig into Botpress and start working on that tutorial. So basically, there's a Botpress tutorial where one is for building and one is for testing a chat bot. It's basically the same tutorial though, and really this should say part 2. I should fix that. Right, and I can do it right into the video. And then the second approach is working with a platform called Chatteron. And then the third approach is using kind of a pre-built tutorial that you would publish to GitHub through your GitHub account, and then put that onto Heroku, which is an app deployment platform on the internet. And there's a complete walkthrough of how to do all those steps built in. The Heroku project is a folder that is zipped that has both the instructions in it, the code in it, and a guide basically for doing the work. It's unlikely I'll demo that one, but who knows, right? You know what the future holds. We are going to start with Botpress, and I did pull down that first PDF document here, and I have it in Adobe Acrobat. So I'm going to kind of pull that up and zoom in a little bit here, and I'm going to attempt to just walk through these screens. If you could, I would suggest that you guys try to follow along with me. If that's not what you want to do, that's fine. Of course, you can watch the video later and try it on your own. So however you choose to work is up to you. In some cases, I'll pull this over to the screen, but I think for the most part, I'm going to keep it on screen number 2 and then just do the work. And then you guys can follow along. And if there's maybe something I'm missing, I think it might be helpful for you to also have it open on your screen, and also partially maybe to help keep you on track as I'm going through it, just so I don't skip a step or click on the wrong thing. All right. So the first thing they want us to do is go to botpress.com. And then they want you to basically sign in or continue with Google is the prompt here. So moving that over to screen number 2 to just get it really out of the way. And then I'm kind of resizing it a little bit here, frankly, so that I can see the whole darn thing at once, and it's not complying with me very well right now. This is an Adobe product, which is more of an Apple platform thing, I think, than a Windows platform thing. All right, so that is our step 1 here, is to go to botpress.com. So I'm going to click the link in the document, and it is coming up on my screen. So, and right off the bat, you can tell it looks different than what you're seeing there. And now we have to figure out which one of these things that we are going to work with. They don't have the same buttons here. So my feeling is to get started for free is probably what we want to do. So let's just try that, right? And then I'm going to sign up with Google, or I can sign up with GitHub. And this might be a conundrum that you will face. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in with Google using my school account. That seems to make sense to me. And not that the GitHub approach wouldn't be valid, but if you were already logged into GitHub and whatever, that might be a good approach for you. So, and I'm going to use my school account. You guys should do the same. Okay, so they're telling you that they will be able to look at my profile, my name, and my email address, which I'm okay with. Of course, if you're not okay with that, don't choose that option. Choose a different option. But I think that by virtue of having a .edu address, it kind of gives us a pass on a lot of stuff that we do in these platforms. All right, let's see what happens here. All right, so we did the continue with Google thing, so I'm moving on to step 3. And I'm reading the instructions, and it says click create chatbot, and I don't even see that on the screen. So I think intuitively, um, I'm going to do start building, right? I think build my agent is you want somebody at Botpress to do it for you. So I'm reading that. So I'm going to do start building. All right, we'll guide you through 4 quick steps. First, name your bot. So I'm not really sure what we're going to call our bot. Um, so I'm looking ahead in the tutorial, and you guys can help me on this too. And I don't see that they're suggesting a name. And so I'm just going to be kind of basic with mine. So I think I'm just going to say Ty's bot. How about that? How about that? That'll work. Now, I am noticing that they have an auto generate, and I'm kind of tempted to see what it generates. So I'm just going to copy that for a second. Let's hit. Oh, I see. Okay, so they just so the name that we're seeing in the tutorial, which comes through as Serious Parrot. Um, you know what? I think I'm going to go with Gorgeous Monkey. I think I'm tempted to change the word gorgeous to maybe handsome, but I think I'll stick with gorgeous. That's okay. Right. So if you guys want to auto generate, that's fine. Just make note of the process here. Normally I would say, screenshot and do all that, but I get the feeling there's going to be so many steps here. It's not going to be worth doing that process. And what we're going to resolve to is that you send me a working link ultimately to prove that you did it. All right. So I'm going to go on to the next step here. And all right, this is kind of interesting. So which one of these goals do we want to go with? And so this is interesting. They have 4 options. So customer support, fix problems and help users along the way. AI assistant, help customers with anything about your brand, or help customers discover the right products for them, and shape your agent's unique personality. Okay, so I'm kind of tempted to do that, but I'm once again, I'm looking at ahead in the thing, and they're going with like a basic template. So I'm assuming that if I go with other, that might get me there. All right, so let's try it. Worst case scenario, we start over. So let's do other. All right. All right. So I do not have a description for this, but I'm going to have to come up with some sort of a fictitious situation here, because basically what this tool does, right, is it helps organizations to create chatbots for specific, typically business reasons. And so I would have to come up either with something fictitious to do. So if you guys are going to do kind of the same thing that I'm doing, uh, if I'm not mistaken, I think the tutorial eventually leads to perhaps a pizza shop, if I remember it right. Okay, and that's where it's going. So this is going to become a tool basically for a restaurant. So okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that clearly, but I said to help customers of my pizza shop answer questions about our products and guide them through the ordering process. And I figured pizza is a good product because it's pretty basic. Like there's not really a lot of variations. You get a crust, some sauce, some cheese, a couple toppings, and you got a pizza, right? So hopefully
Which selection did you do on step two? Is it other or
I did other, Paul. Yeah,
okay?
because I figured that would give me the most generic template, and I think the goal is, to kind of have a blank slate to start with. But thank you for asking. The one thing I will say too, like if you guys do have questions and you want to ask them, normally I know you guys don't because I'm recording, but I do not intend to necessarily make this video public. I will still put it on YouTube, but I will make it not listed, which means that people won't find it. So if you ask a silly question, nobody will be able to track you down. Is kind of the point. Uh, Google might be able to, but or YouTube, but nobody else. Um, okay, and I think this is probably enough information. I don't want to say too much, so I'm going to go ahead and click next. Um, all right, so here they're asking like if I actually have a website, um, and I don't, right? So like if I had a pre-existing website, and want to add a chatbot to it, that's basically the kind of thing we're doing here. But okay, so they want a website or description to shape your bot's tone and appearance. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Um, I'm going to come up with something fictitious. You guys can do the same thing. And I'm just going to say, we are opening a new pizza shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that will make pizzas to order and will offer pickup or delivery. We'll just keep it kind of basic, right? All right. Now they're also asking for knowledge sources. So you can imagine, like, if I had, this would be so much better if I still had my old business up and running. I could just like tie right into the website and pull information right from it. But you notice that they're adding knowledge sources to help the bot answer questions. So, in other words, like if I had a menu already, I could feed it in here. So now you know where my brain is going on this stuff, right? I'm like, well, I could have AI. I could have AI generate a fictitious pizza menu, and I could feed that menu in, and then so maybe that's a not a bad way to do it. Um, all right, I think I'm going to kind of be brave here and do exactly that. I'm going to kind of, hey, we got all these AI tools. Let's utilize them. I am going to use Gemini intentionally, by the way, because I don't have as much fear of my credits running out on this platform. The same is true for you guys because it is baked into our gateway ecosystem. We are a Google shop, as they say. So our emails Google, our file storage is Google, etc. So um, trying to be very generic about this. I don't know if you guys are kind of picking up on what I'm typing here, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. Um, Um, let's fix our spelling there. Let's see what happens. This is my prompt. If you guys want to, does anybody want to use the same prompt? I can put it in the chat if you want. Yeah. And Jared, I did see that too, but okay, so I guess I'm called the crust and kettle. Okay, and it's putting me in Racine. I know why it's putting me in Racine because I'm VPN to campus. Um, and then it looks like it has a bunch of documents it's creating. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to download or export to Sheets. Oh, I see. All right. Um, I think I'm just going to do a copy of this. And I'm going to drop it in a document. And let's see what that generated. All right. And you know what? This is what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop um, just so I can find it. What's it called? The crust and kettle? The crust and kettle menu. All right. So that gives me a piece of information to feed the AI, to actually build. So let's see if I can just grab that right from the desktop here. All right. Yeah, and I'm not going to skip, but I'm doing this because otherwise I feel like I'm going to have to really tinker with it quite a bit. All right, so I'm kind of like already kind of impressed with how quickly it just built something, right? Um, but we're going to go into this phase because this is where the tutorial goes. Basically, go to the studio to fine tune the bot and then try different things. Now, of course, their whole purpose of allowing us to use this tool is to send them money, ultimately. And we want to avoid, that part of it. All right, let's go ahead and do continue. And now I think we're getting into the interface where we're supposed to be. All right, so let's kind of explore this a little bit. And it says it's online, so it's already usable. I'm going to click the preview mode and let's just try it. Right. One of the tricks to this, if you guys aren't picking up on it, right, is the fact that by giving it the information, now the chatbot uses that as a source to interact. I think this is really like crazy easily powerful to implement just using what I just did. Can you imagine if you had a real business with real information that you could pump in here? Um, I'm asking it silly questions to see what kind of silly responses it gives me. Okay. I'm pretty impressed already just with that basic information. So I generated a menu with AI, and now I generated a chatbot with AI, kind of super fast like that. Pretty impressive. Let's see if we can do some of the um, some additional things here. And I'm trying to get into this mode. And I don't know if you guys saw where I clicked here. I went to the workspace up top. And the reason I'm doing this is because that's where seemingly the tutorial kind of takes you. So I'm in the home thing and I have all my chatbots listed here. All right. So our step number 3, which is create chatbot, that's what we just did, right? But we just did it in a little bit more complicated fashion. Um, I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm assuming this is step number 4 in the slides where we're supposed to click edit. So I'm going to go into the edit mode. And I think I was already there, but let's let it load it up. And maybe it's different. Okay. Boy, right away, they want me to pay. Now, this is kind of interesting too, right? Getting a little insight as to what these things cost. All right. So if you wanted like a real one, right, it's $89 a month. And if you think that it would help your business, I mean, yeah, that would be not that outrageous a cost. All right. And then you have the team approach. That's very expensive. I think I like the free plan. All right. So all I did on that one, it wasn't really giving me an option because I'm certainly not going to pay them. So I just hit escape. And now let's see if we can do some editing here. Now they are asking us to start from a template. And now I'm kind of fumbling here because I'm not really sure that I'm seeing any of this stuff because I think we already did these steps, I think is what's happening. Maybe, maybe what we try to do, and let's see if we can follow their tutorial a little closer. So I'm going to go back to home, assuming this is home. And so I think what I'm going to try to do is build a new chatbot. All right. So I think we're going to go here. And I guess this is step number 3 all over again. So we have that one in process, and you guys saw how easy that was to deploy. Um, let's try this approach where we create the bot. Oh, isn't that interesting? You've reached the limit of bots you can create. Please upgrade your plan to create more bots. All right. That's very limiting and a little frustrating. Now, I wonder if I were to delete the one that I have, if I could go in there and adjust it. And I'm also curious, like if I do get into the edit mode here, you're already connected on another browser. And so I think I'm going to close my tabs. Let's try editing again. And I think it's going to flag this and give me the same message. All right. So it is kind of giving us some ability to uh, mess with it a little bit. And it's not going to be on the level that apparently is in this tutorial. So here's what I'm seeing. And I'm going to pull the tutorial over this. These are the slides I'm kind of pushing through. Is when we did this, since we followed the prompts on screen, we cannot create a chatbot unless we destroy the one that we have, probably. Um, I clicked on edit to go in there, and I think that some of these are not going to be possible to do. All right. So what we want to try to get to, and this is where I'm trying to get to, is to get to the point where we can maybe see some of these screens from scratch. All right. So you can see I'm kind of like thinking, do I delete the one that I have because I kind of like it, right? And it was really easy to create, and then start from scratch and try to build something from scratch along the way. All right. That was pretty easy to make. So let's see if I can go back now. I'm just trying to figure out how to get there. So back to the dashboard here. I'm just wondering if we can get in there and just kind of work through some of those nodes that they're showing us. And you guys feel free to play with it. And if you're finding the way to do it, let me know. All right, it seemed to be in this panel here in the workflows. All right, and I can see our knowledge base is the document that we fed in. And it looks like they have a spot where you can put in tabular information, which is nice. And I assume that if I do an action here, that will cost us some money. Okay, this is interesting. They have a number of different agents that we can connect. Okay, this is interesting. You can use some of these integrations. Oh, very interesting. If you go into the bot settings here, they allow you to choose um, which models you're using to drive. And it looks like a pretty extensive list too. Holy cow, you can totally switch between all of those. You can even choose when it was deployed. Okay. I think the spot where we want to be apparently is working with these nodes. Now we have an autonomous node that apparently with those templates we went through at the beginning, it generated this automatically. They do have a little video here, so why not let's go ahead and check this out. All right, I'm going to turn the volume down here.
An autonomous node is a type of node that uses an LLM to determine when and in what order to execute the cards that it contains. In this video, I'll show you how to configure an autonomous node and how to combine it with a linear workflow. First, we'll need to create our autonomous node. To create this, I'll right-click anywhere in the studio and I'll select an autonomous node instead of a standard one. Next, we'll need to decide where in our existing conversation we want to place this autonomous node. In this simple example, I want my bot to be able to do two things. First, I want to make sure that it can answer any questions that my user asks. To do this, I'll enable the node to answer questions based on the information in my knowledge base by giving it access to that knowledge base. I'll do this by taking a query knowledge base card from the card tray and dragging it over into the autonomous node. This tells the autonomous node that it can answer questions based on the information that my knowledge base contains. Unlike a standard node, there's no end to this process, so the user can ask as many questions as they like in a completely conversational experience. The LLM handles the rest, deciding the direction of the conversation, what further questions to ask, and what to say next. Second, I need to provide a prompt that will tell the autonomous node what its goal is. Think of this like the direction in which you want the LLM to guide the conversation. For this example, I want to move outside of this node into a structured workflow, but only when the user has expressed a desire to make a purchase. In this instructions prompt, I'll tell the node that it should answer questions and try to upsell a specific product. So over here in the instructions prompt, I'll say, answer any questions the user might have. Your goal is to sell a specific product. Next, I need to define the conditions under which my user will transition out of this autonomous node. In this example, I want the user to move away from an LLM-directed workflow so that I can accept payment in a standardized way, but you can imagine moving the user from one LLM-directed workflow to another, each of which has different goals. First, I'll start by adding a transition card into the autonomous node. Then I'll define the conditions for that transition. So over here in the condition field, I'll write the user wants to make a purchase, since that's the condition I would like to identify. To make sure that this is working, I'll just add a simple path here, and I'll use a standard node that sends a message like purchase, just to verify that this is working. Now that everything is set up, let's test it out. I'll start by sending a message in the emulator with no context whatsoever. We'll see that the LLM will determine by itself how to assist me. I'll say something like, I'd like to talk about cats. Now, my LLM hasn't been trained to respond to cats or to answer information about cats, but in this trivial example, I want to show you how the autonomous node handles a conversation like this. So in this conversation, I'll continue, and I'll say something like, I'd like to know about the difference between orange and gray cats. And once again, the LLM will determine how to move on from here. So it's finding information for me based on the information contained in my knowledge base. Now, I've got some more information here. Let's say I want to start moving towards making a purchase. I'll say something like, what color collar would look best on a gray cat? Now remember, my autonomous node's purpose is to upsell a specific product. So once it has more information about something I'm maybe looking to purchase.
Okay. I think that's kind of a weird stop point for the video. Not really quite sure what happened there, but I'm kind of getting the impression here that we can totally tailor this as I click back on this autonomous node here, and I don't think the way that I went about creating it is necessarily a bad approach, right? Because really what I did is I gave it some of the information I could have gave it in the aftermath. But the one thing that I'm looking here, like you notice, like when you are on a certain node, you see in the side panel here how the information is placed into it. And I don't know if I can actually enlarge the font there much, a little bit, I guess. But if you read through this, it says, in the basic instructions for the autonomous node. And I did not generate any of this. This was all automatically generated. And I'm like reading through it. But if I wanted to say that, I could probably put something there that said, hey, anytime somebody tries to order something, suggest that they buy some garlic bread, or have them add soda to the order or something of that. That would be kind of one tweak that we could make to it. Another thing that that we could try is adding another node. So maybe we can try that. And I think that's, I'm trying to like mimic that approach here. Okay, this is a zoom in. And I think with this video, I think at this point we could probably remove that or just get it out of the way here. And I'm not sure where I moved it to. So let's see if we can just refresh here. All right, apparently I moved that way too far away. All right, maybe we could add a thing in here, and this would be kind of my attempt to do some of the work here. All right, thank you for the tip. Thank you, Jared. And I'm thinking, what if the autonomous node, like somebody says, I want to place an order, right? Maybe we can have it respond to that and then bring up an order form of some sort. All right, so now I'm kind of looking back at the instructions to figure out what type of nodes I can throw in there. All right, and I'm trying to follow their instructions here. Yeah, I'm tempted to just remove this. So let's, okay, I don't have to remove it, but notice that I can disconnect it. So I'm going to disconnect it. All right. I think this is part of the fun here is figuring out what the heck you're doing. And now we can get the little bullet there that they're talking about in the tutorial, right? To click on that. All right, this looks a little bit more like the tutorial now. All right, so I feel a little bit better about it. So I'm going to step number 9. in the tutorial right now. Um, so let's see if we can do a couple of these steps. And I know we're about halfway through already, so we can try to futz with this. So here's the standard node, and it looks like it put it in a very inconvenient spot there. Click expression from the filter cards, and I'm not seeing that. Um, okay, so there's the card we're looking for. I just had to search for it because I didn't see it listed. All right. Boy, that zoom control is a little out of control, frankly. All right, so I clicked expression. Then over here on the right, I'm on step number 11 in the slides. It says click the condition box and type true, which is already set whenever you create a node. All right, so that's already set. So that must be the old way you had to do it. Click the dot near always and extend it to get the connection. Select standard node. Okay, it's interesting how it layers them. Really kind of doesn't make sense. I'm going to start arranging my stuff on the screen so I can see it a little bit better. And once again, they want an expression. Now I see that there. Okay. So we're basically kind of doing the same task twice. And then it wants us to click standard one and name it greetings, and standard two and name it options. So just click right on the title there. So this is going to be greetings. And this is going to be option. This is step number 15 on the slide. All right, so now it says from the filter cards menu on the left, click a single choice option and drag it to the option node. So I'm not sure where we find those. Tables, actions, agents, hooks. Okay, and I think that we do from here. And we're looking for filter. I'm not seeing it there. Is anybody seeing it somewhere? I'm not finding that tool.
So I found it. It's under, you do want to do the add card, but you got to keep scrolling down towards like the bottom, it'll have like capture information, and then it should say there should be one for single choice. Oh, try going up a little bit. There you go, single choice.
Okay. All right. And drag it to the option node. Okay, so we did that. So really the interface is different, right? Because like apparently this add card thing was a separate menu at one point, but now it's kind of integrated. All right, so that was step 16. And then click on the single choice, which already is clicked. And then on the option node, okay, so it says from the transition window on the right. Select create variable. All right. All right. It wants me to, so here's the instructions, right? It wants me to click that and then create or select the created rest options. So I'm assuming I have to create it, right? That's the way I'm reading it. I don't know if you guys are reading it the same way. So I'm going to call it rest options. All right, so I'm going to take that. All right, and then the question to the user they would like us to type in is, how would you like me to assist you? And okay, or something similar. All right. Okay, then on step number 20, it says click the plus icon under items. So for as many options as you want. I clicked twice, is what the person said here. And they created provide menu information and recommend or something. And I'm not seeing what that says there. So I'm looking at slides 20, 21, and 22. So I'm on, so these items here. And the one option they were saying was provide menu information. What other question could we answer? Maybe provide information about delivery. Any other clever ideas, folks? What kind of stuff would we do at a pizza restaurant? All right. How about this? Let's let this sit for a minute. Maybe I'll come up with the right idea during our break. Let's pause the video and step away for about 5 minutes and come back. 6:46 we'll come back at, or 6:47 just turned, so 6:52-ish. I will see you. All right, we are going to kind of pick up where we left off here. I'm trying to figure out what slide I was on. So I'm just going to pull them over here. We did the single choice thing. We added some variables. All right, we did the how would you like me to assist you? Click on the plus icon. We did that twice, so we put in two options. Provide menu information and provide information about delivery. Those are my two. All right. Now it says to click on rest options. So this is where I'm picking up on slide 23, if you guys are following along on your own. So I'm clicked on rest options right now. And it says create one new node from provide menu information. Okay, and I see, and so that makes sense of what the bullets are, if you guys are catching this, right? So they want us to add a new node off of this little branch right here, right? Provide menu information and name it menu. So I'm going to do that. And I assume standard, right? And there it is behind there. So I'm going to right away, I'm going to move it. Let's click to make it active. Then I can move it. And we'll name it menu. Okay. That seems pretty straight ahead. All right, name it menu. That was step number 25. All right, and their second choice was show recommended and popular food, right? And that's not what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this other one here, do another standard node. I'm going to say delivery info. How about that? All right. And if you want to, so apparently that one that I couldn't read said show recommended and popular food and name it dishes. And that's not what I'm doing. So we have to kind of extrapolate. So they walk you through the process of naming it. All right. So now I'm moving down to step number 28 now. And step number 28 is in both the nodes, menu and dishes, add an AI task, text message, and single choice capture information from the menu on the left, right? So there's three things you're adding, right? And I'll show you the so I'm on slide 28. They want us to add an AI task, text message, and single choice capture information. All right, so I'm going to try to do that for both of those nodes. I'll start with the menu. And so I'm going to add AI task. I'm going to add a text message. I'm a little reluctant to do that, honestly. And then add single choice capture information. So we've done this before, and it seems like typing this in the search box is kind of the way to do it. Single choice. And then, so we did that for the menu. All right, so I'm going to move end like way down here somewhere. And then I'm going to move menu up out of the way. I'm going to collapse the sidebar here. And then their zoom feature is kind of clunky, I'm finding. I don't know if you guys feel the same way about it. But now that we have all of this, that looks a little better, right? So it's at least a little more organized. So then we'll go to the menu or delivery info. So AI task, text, and single choice. So we're going to do the same thing here. So AI task, text message, and single choice. All right, so both of those have that same info there. That was step number 28. All right, and then step number 29 shows it. Step number 30 shows it some more. Step number I'm looking at step number 31. I'm trying to see like what the magic sauce is here. All right. And I think some of this, and I think this is how I'm seeing step 31, right? Notice we're on the menu card or node or whatever you want to call it. And then this AI task here has been renamed menu. So I think we want to click on that and name it that somehow. And then we'll go to the thing on the right and pick up on step number 32. So I'm clicking on that. And they're not showing you the right sidebar, so I really don't know. Go to the transition part on the right. I just don't get what they mean by that. Click on the AI task in the menu node and go to the transition part on the right. I guess I just don't understand what they're talking about. Okay, so here's what I'm wrestling with right now. Maybe you guys could be my fifth, sixth, 10th set of eyes here. Right. I'm following these steps. So we did these, adding those three components to each. Right. And then, this signifies click on that orange thing. So I clicked on that, right? So here I am, clicked on it. Right. I did not want to do that. And clicked on it. And I'm trying to interpret what this instruction is. All right, so I clicked on the AI task in the menu node and go to the transition part on the right. What the heck do they mean by that? Like if I click here, am I getting different? All right, this is the only thing that I'm seeing is add transition to handle failure. And so I don't know like where they're intending me to be here. Just not very clear instructions. And see, they're creating, mind you, they're creating this tutorial off of a completed product, so they're showing all the connections in the aftermath of what we're doing. So I think that helps to cloud it a little bit too. So, all right, I'm just going to kind of move on because I really don't get what they're asking. So here it says type the prompt that should be generated by the generative AI. in the AI task input tab, type event preview. All right, well, I think I can handle that. Task. So here, all right, so let's do that. Event preview. That looks like how they're doing it. And that says, all right, so if you know your JavaScript, this is handy, but it looks to me like they have double curly brackets on this. So I'm just gonna follow their example. All right, and it doesn't like it. That's very, very handy. And I also think this is kind of interesting that they have this text already in here, right? And I do recognize that text, like when we were doing our autonomous node, right? I mean, that's that information, I think. So if I put this in here, maybe that would help. So now can I do event preview? I don't know if that's necessarily an error. It did say in the tutorial, verbatim, type this. And I don't know if I mean, I'm not seeing stuff in all caps, and this looks to be like this. So maybe this becomes something different after something else happens. It says store the Gen AI content in a new variable, right? And notice how they have an option already placed here. Give one task example. And so I'm scrolling to see what they mean by that. Okay, so they're just calling this, it seems like, menu. And then a task example. And I'm just going to copy what they're doing here. So it says, show 5 different varieties. I don't know, maybe I'll say show 5 different toppings for a pizza. Do not repeat the options when asked again. Okay. Okay. And so step number 37 says click on the text message icon you dragged on the menu node and print the content generated by AI here. And so we're going to click on the text message and then put in that information. So let's see if we can do that. I'm going to pull this out of the way here. I think what I'm seeing is you just click on it. And so I'm just going to type something like, great. Let's see our menu. And then they're using this syntax. And I assume it's I don't know if it's a user object. No. Maybe a bot object. User variables. Because this just says workflow menu. So I'm going to just try that, since I am copying. All right, so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here. Okay, we called it workflow rest options. Or did this just not stick? Yeah, I think I'm going to try that. I don't know what harm it can do. It just does not like anything I'm placing in there. Is anybody having any luck with this? Yeah. Right. But the assumption is, Jared, I'm picking up on what you're saying. Like we named this here, and then we're supposed to store it in these results variables. So I'm like backtracking here once again to kind of see their screens. And they just have a variable here just called menu. And I'm not really sure how they created it. So all right, scope workflow. Okay, so apparently I never did this step. All right, so I'm just going to click save. Okay, now you see how I did that, right? So that was, all right, man, that was not simple. Now let's go back here and see if is that workflow. It's fascinating that it is very, very sensitive. Okay, that seemed to work. So I misspelled workflow. There you go. You're not the only one making mistakes here. All right, that was kind of like pulling teeth. Okay. Next, we're supposed to click on the single choice option and give two options, whether they want new content or they want to move forward. So we click single choice. This is step 40, by the way. And then over here, question to ask the user, do you want to see more options? All right. Then they want us to create a variable. And we're going to create menu option. All right. And then the two choices are yes, show more options. And then the other option is no. And that takes us down to step 43. So that completes step 43. So now we're moving on to step 44. Is everybody okay? I'll assume so, because you're all kind of quiet. All right. So now the trick. Oh, and no didn't stick. Did you guys catch that? I never pressed enter on it. All right. So once these are locked in here, it looks like they appear in the panel. And then, all right. So here's what they want us to do now. And this is a little bit weird. And this is where your programming knowledge comes in, I think, a little handy. If they click yes, that's a trigger to tell them to loop. So they want us to, I think, take this and loop it back to menu. So if they say yes, show more options, you take them back to the menu again. All right. So that was pretty easy to do. And then it says here, set the expression to be true always. And I'm not really sure how you do that. Oh, I see. So here we want to add always. Okay, but that is not. Is anybody finding how to do that? I'm not finding it. And then, of course, my PDF became mega screened here. And that's throwing me off a little bit too.
So for the add card, you want to add card expression and then it goes to always. Yeah, it's right there. Expression under flow logic.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Not easy to find. All right. Always and true. Okay, so we're okay there. So that was step 45. And then it says do all the same stuff for the dishes node, which for me is delivery info. So let's see if we can repeat those tasks, right? So we have the AI task. I'm going to say provide information about our delivery options. And of course, I already forgot all the stuff we put in there. And so I assume it's going to be an event preview again. And then we need a variable. So if we named it workflow menu, we can name it workflow delivery, right? And we'll just say save. Then you have to come back and select it. All right, so I think that's good there. And I'm just like checking all the little things we had to I see. Okay, so I think we have those set. Then for the text, and they say great in front of everything, so I'm going to do it too. Great. Show you information about delivering and then they included the variable. It's interesting how that interface works. I'm not sure I like it. Why so challenging? We want workflow delivery. Okay. Once again, I'm not finding that process particularly easy. All right. Then we go to single choice, and when we did menu option, do you want to see more options? And I guess I'm a little bit because because it chose delivery as opposed to dishes, I don't feel like I can ask them to like like, are you picking it up or do you want it delivered? I mean, it's kind of like the two options. I mean, I suppose it could be like DoorDash or something like that too, but I mean, that's still a form of delivery, right? So if here we said, do you want to see more options? And then we gave them a yes, no. What question do we put up here then? How about, would you like it delivered or will you pick it up? All right. And that's going to go under delivery, right? And then down here, I'll say, yes, I'd like this order delivered. And then the next one will say, no, I will come and pick it up. And then press enter to lock that in. So I think that's fairly effective. So we're breaking their script a little bit here, but we're still kind of doing the same thing, right? So if the thing about this, if they say, yes, I'd like the order delivered, I don't want to loop them back and ask again, right? And so we won't loop back, right? Um, the always thing needs to be added here. So let's add that. And now that I know what area to find it in, right? And I think I'm looking right at, expression always. Okay. Condition true. All right. So with yes, really, think about the process for this. I probably shouldn't have broken the tutorial process. Ideally they want me to loop back, but I think yes and no will probably have to go to the same location. Yes would just add money to the order, and no would not, basically. All right, so I think step 46 is done. And I think I'm looking at step 47, 48, 49, which I think we completed all these steps already. 50. Okay, well, 51 and 52 we didn't quite do. Like for example, here they wanted us to have task examples. And for dishes, they said, tell us about the signature dish of your restaurant, give a brief description of the dish and its ingredients. So that's step 52. And maybe it would be like, tell me about how I can receive my pizza. Must it be delivered, or can I pick it up? Okay, so I think that completes step 52. All right, and then step 53, we did this also, and step 54. So it kind of walks through all the little granular things that we just did. Step 55 would have you loop back yes to delivery. And then I'm looking at step 56. All right, so I'm trying to figure out what they're clicking on. They're clicking on dish options. They're looping back in step 55. In step 56, capture information, single choice. I'm asking for pickup or delivery. And then I provided the yes. No. All right. So I'm seeing that like these steps are things that we've already done. So all the way through step 58, 59, where we're storing it all. So we did all that already. In step 60, Jared, that's what you don't like my wording, basically. Is that what you're telling me? You want me to adjust it? I mean, I can do that. Same difference, I think. Yeah, you know what? And I'm trying to like I'm figuring out here that I've already kind of completed a bunch of steps. So now I'm looking at um the now I'm on slide 61, right? And for this one, it says for both the menu and dishes, if more responses were required, it will loop over the task. Else create a new name named order or new node named order and connect both the no values to the ordering. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new node then. So let's do that. And now I'm forgetting how to do that task, right? Because we've done so many other tasks in the process. So we'll add a standard node. We'll call this order. All right, let's lock that in. And then what it wanted us to do is take the no nodes and connect it. So there's one connected. But here's the funny thing, right? Like if I add yes, think about this. The procedure would really be the yes in my delivery thing would just be to add $2 for delivery. You know, if that's I think what I put on the menu. And then, but whether it's yes or no, they're both going to connect to the same thing. I'll connect no first, but I'm wondering, like, I could probably add it. I'm assuming I could add a node that just does math automatically. All right, let's not worry about that right now. Because I'm kind of breaking the rules here a little bit. That's okay. So moving on to step 62, which I've already completed to create the node. Step 63 to name it. Now I'm trying to read the step 663 instructions. Add a single choice, capture information option, and ask whether they want to make an order or not. All right, so we want to do the single choice thing here. And that was, how do we do that again? Expression. Okay, that doesn't seem quite right. All right, refresh my memory, folks. How do we use single choice? It's not by doing this. Oh, yeah, it is by doing that. Single choice. All right. Question to ask the user. Would you like to place an order? Right. And then we have to create a new variable again. So I'm going to call it, what would be a logical name for this? Let's see if they name it something. They call it order dish. I'm going to call it order food, I think is what I'm going to call mine. All right, so order food. Okay, easy enough. And then with our choices, yes, I would like to order. Yeah, I was going to put something snarky in there, but I'll just say no, thank you. How about that? All right. Okay. So, and now they're starting to give us in slide 63 some really kind of like generic instructions where they're going to say, like, all right, if they answer yes, move them to the order response node, else move them to the node before the goodbye node. So, I don't have a goodbye node and I don't have an order response node. So I'm assuming that those have to be created. So that's what step 64 is about. So I'm going to lock this answer in. And then I'm going to kind of move the board over a little bit because we're going to be working off to the side here. I'm going to move end over as well. All right. So they want us to create a standard node. That's slide 64. And then name it order response, which is slide 65. And now I'm on step 66. And it says, to this node, add 2 raw input capture information named order dish and members. Okay, I apologize for this, but I did not realize that we're already over time. I'm going to keep working on this for just a little bit longer, but not a whole lot longer. I think I'll probably go another 10 minutes, something like that. If you guys need to go to a different class or you're done for the night, just carry on. I will publish the recording as far as I get with it. And I'm assuming that most of the challenging stuff is done already. Now we're kind of flowing through the process. But it does make me appreciate how quick and easy it was just to do the automatic one at the beginning, where it just, I fed it a menu and it can just answer the questions about it. Now, this is actually going to handle orders. So now I could throw that autonomous piece back in there somewhere, to answer questions about the menu or just other generic questions. But for those of you that are trying to, get this done to get the points, right? And you can see why it's worth that many points because there is quite a bit of work and like tinkering with it. And then hopefully we get it all to work. So if you have to go. If you want to hang out for a little bit and watch me fumble through this. And then my hope would be to come back and finish the process at some point, record it. I don't know how soon that'll be. Frankly, it might not be till the weekend. And I'm just giving you that heads up. The due date for the stuff in this unit is pretty far out. So there's plenty of time. So don't get into a panic about due dates on this. All right, folks, let me keep pressing forward here then. So I'm on slide 66 now, and this is what I'm looking at on my screen. It says to this node, add 2 raw input capture information options named order dish and members to get the name of the dish and the number of members. And I'm not really sure what they mean by members, real frankly. All right, so let's do that. So I'm going to add a card that are raw capture information. And so I'm searching for that raw input. Okay. All right. There's one. And let's do that again. Raw input. And then we're going to name them. So let's name them. And I'm not sure where I think that comes from the variable, right? Yeah, that's what it would be. So we'll call it, I'm going to call mine order pizza. What the heck do they mean by members? What do you guys think they mean by members? Like you're like part of their pizza club or something? Any thoughts on that? Maybe we can boil it down for them. Maybe we have order pizza, order something else. I'm trying to figure out where they're going with this, real frankly. Oh, I see. If you scroll down, they start talking about for members, for how many people do you want to make an order? You know what? I'm going to say, you know, order pizza and then maybe how many pizzas would you like? Or maybe I could ask, what size pizza would you like? So we could get into like toppings and, so we could go way down the rabbit hole here. But that's kind of where we're moving to. So I think, how about we just make it, um, one will be order pizza. So maybe we'll just say, pepperoni or something like that. And then the second one could be pizza size. Maybe that would be a good one. Let's keep it really simple. Um, thanks a lot, George. I think I'll lead the luck. All right, so let's do that. So for order pizza, it will say what type of pizza would you like? And I'll say include a list of toppings. Something like that. Okay. Then with this one, would you like a large pizza? And I think it was 16-inch, if I remember right. Or a medium pizza, which I think was 12-inch. And then I'm going to create a variable. We'll call it pizza size. Okay, order pizza, pizza size. All right. Kind of primitive, but hey, it is what it is. And then I'm just looking at slide 67 and 68, where I guess we're kind of putting that information in there. We have to create the variables, of course, which we did. All right. So now I'm moving down to slide 71. That's where I'm at right now. On slide 71, it says click AI task. And I think they want us to add an AI task to this. So let's do that. So let's do it the easy way. There we go. So they named, like on step number 72, they created a variable for the AI and they're naming it order res. And I'm not really understanding what that means. Um, I'm just going to name it the same thing. I guess that's not going to hurt anything because at least it's unique. Okay, so there it is. We clicked save. So we did step 73. Now we're on step 74. And it says click the describe in plain English what you want to accomplish with this uh, task. So in other words, this. And I'm not really sure what to put there because I'm not really sure where they're going with it. Um, right. I think that kind of explains it somewhat. And it says, be as specific as you can. All right. That's specific enough for me for right now. All right. So this whole process that they just went through, and okay, so order res stands for order response, by the way. All right. See you later, Martin. I guess he's already gone. And so step 75, create raw, capture information, name members, and set its variables. And I think this was the one that was supposed to be members, and we already did that. So I think step 75 is already complete. And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like step 76 is kind of a repeat of one of the ones above, because it tells me to put in the information here and give it like as much information as you possibly can, right? And so I feel like step 76 is already done. All right. And I think, all right, so here's where I'm gonna kind of get stuck here a little bit, and maybe you guys can help guide me just a little bit more. As I kind of go through these tasks, right? So AI task, right? Create the variable. We did that. We hit save on the variable creation. Then we went into the AI task and, told it what it's supposed to be doing, right? That's step 74. And then it says create raw capture information, name members, right? And this is the part where I said, okay, well, we already did that, right? And set all its variables. And then it goes back, and this is where I was kind of getting confused here, because it's back to the AI task, which I already did this part. So it feels like that's superfluous, right? And then I'm noticing here the AI task input that goes here. Maybe this is what they were meaning to have us do, is this part. And notice how it's like preview event, order dish, and members. And I think for us, it would be preview event, order pizza, pizza size. So let's see if we can try that. Oh, that's interesting. By breaking it, then it gives me the right choice. Okay. Maybe I just need to type it slower. Okay. Okay. I'm finding that really kind of confusing, frankly. I think it's interesting how it's like the curly brackets are needed, but then when it auto types, it doesn't actually auto fill. All right, I think I'm just going to throw in order pizza and pizza size. Let's just do that, because at least I can get those in there. All right, let's go back to the instructions for a moment. All right. Order pizza, pizza size. Says click there. Okay, I can do that. Then it wants us to do a text response. All right, so this looks like they're adding a text message thing, but they're not telling us to do it. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to add a card, text message, and then they just put amazing workflow response. Okay, so I'm just going to follow what they're doing. I don't know why it's really quite amazing. And all right, so once again, I'm trying to get that auto type to work here, and it feels very much like it's fighting me. And I think I might just have to type it. Seem to take it. So let's see. All right, so it's not easy either. Let's see where it goes. So we're on 80 right now. And then we need to add apparently a single choice, right? Once again, not told necessarily to do it, but at least we're kind of getting to understand it now a little bit. All right. And is there anything else? Heck, I almost don't want to ask the question, honestly. And of course, they're going to create a variable for it. It looks like they're skipping the variable creation here. You guys picking up on that? They're just doing yes, no. So let's do yes, no. Okay. So now we're on to step 85. And folks, I'm just going to do a few more minutes here and then I'm going to call it. And I know there's only a couple of you left, but thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. Makes it so that talking out loud isn't, like I feel like I'm talking to myself most of the time here. After adding the required cards on order response node, and if the user has any query, got to query node else by node. Okay, that makes no sense. All right. I think this is kind of a good place to cap it. I think I'm going to call it right here. So let me find an elegant way to exit this. So I'll make note that I'm stopping on this slide, and then I'm going to try to interpret what the heck they're trying to say here. I don't know how many more steps there are, or there's quite a few, but I think a lot of them are kind of like repeats. So, like once you get into that flow, but I think we're kind of getting to the end of it here. All right. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go close the PDF reader. In terms of how do we save our work, I don't think there's necessarily a save button. I think it just like wherever you leave it is where it sits. And you know, a couple little thoughts here, right? And I'm looking at like if they want to order food, right? That's going to be a yes. And if they want no, that's going to take us to whatever the buy thing is, which we haven't done yet. But I kind of think, you know, and if I'm guessing right here, this is just going to automatically save inside the environment. Has anybody found otherwise? Yeah, I don't think that that's going to break anything. Yeah, I don't want to publish the changes, but you know what? I mean, let's try the URL. This is kind of silly, but let's see what it does. Yeah, I'm wondering if it'll even respond. Okay. Um, I'm wondering if this is just looking at the previous Autobot that we had. All right. I think at this point, I think I'm just going to cap it right here. I don't know what's going on here, right? They're just like just outputting. So this is the automatic one, obviously from before. All right, I'm just going to cap it here, folks, and we'll just call it a recording and call it a night.